What up YouTube? Welcome back to Omni Garage. So if you haven't checked our latest video, we were fortunate enough to have PCL Air Technology send us a box of air tools.
So what we've typically been doing here at Omni Garage is using the Ryobi high volume inflator. This has an inbuilt gauge to inflate the tyres on the car. What we've learnt is since receiving this PCL gauge, which is pretty accurate, we've learnt that this is definitely not accurate. So on this one here, we're at about 10 PSI, which is huge. So the new process is to overinflate using this, then go around all of the tyres using the digital gauge to let some air out and make sure we're at a nice accurate inflation on all of the tyres.
So that setup there works really well if you're just a grab and go kind of person. If you've got an air compressor, you can use these air compressor tools. You've got to do a bit more setup, a bit more fiddling, but I think these have been quite good. So we've been sent the Accura MK4 tyre inflator, and we've also been sent the AIRFORCE MK4 tyre inflator. So we're going to try these products out and see how we get on. We are absolutely new at using these tools. We haven't used them before, so should be right. Okay, so the first product we're going to try out is the Accura MK4 tyre inflator, and unboxing this product here. Here's our tyre inflator. So overall the product feels quite heavy. It feels nice and robust, made out of good quality material. And we've got our LCD display here. We've got some batteries in the pack, so I guess that these batteries are used for the LED display. Looks like maybe that these batteries go in on the top here. And that looks like a normal place to put some batteries. So straight away you can see that by putting those batteries in there, we've got our nice blue LED display. We will need to put a little connector into there, little air hose connector there, so that we can actually put our air compressor onto that. So we can attach our adapter onto there, and we just want to tighten it up, not too tight, but just reasonable enough there. And that's what our air compressor hose will attach to, and this is the part here. This bit here will then be attaching onto the tyre there. Let's get it all connected up and see how it performs. Alright, so we'll just connect our air compressor here. Now for the Subaru 2019 STi, the front tyre pressure is 230 kPa. So these pressures here will be relatively pretty close, so we're going to have a little bit of a play around with our gadget. Now by holding down this button here, you can change 2 seconds each time, you can change the reading, so kPa, PSI, bar, but we want it on kPa. So we can see here that the gauge here is measured it right at 230, but if we do half a push, that's letting air out of the tyres, and if we push all the way down, it'll put air back in the tyre. So we're at 241, we want to bring that now down to 230, just half a push, lets the air out. And there we are, bang on 230. Okay, so we've just come to the rear of the car, and we're going to do exactly what we did with the front tyres on the rear. So these are slightly overinflated on the rear. We've got 239. Subaru recommended it's 220. So we'll just let a little bit of air out, which is half a push on the trigger here. Taken too much out there. Oh no, it's calibrated at 220. There you have it. Okay, so what I really like about this tool is the nice LED display. Makes it nice and clear how much pressure you're putting in. I suppose what I also like is that I didn't have to get 2 different tools out to either put air in or take air out and then have to calibrate to check it. This did it perfectly. The downside to this tool is you've got to have an air compressor and you've got to have a bit more of a setup with it. So
So we'll unbox this. This is the AIRFORCE MK4 and compare this. So the key difference appearance-wise on this one here is that you've got a analog gauge versus the LCD digital screen on the other MK4. In terms of build quality, this one feels very similar. They are really heavy, especially compared to the Ryobi. This is probably the same weight as the Ryobi we've typically used, except this doesn't have a battery attached to it. So we'll hook this up to the air compressor, give this a whirl on the back tyre. And what you have with the analog gauge is two measures of readings. You've got PSI and KPA versus our digital gauge, where we've got the option to cycle through 4 different readings. This here does have some instructions on the front, which can come in handy the first time you're using it. So inflating, you're fully pressing this lever in, and deflating, you're going about halfway in. So we'll pop the chuck onto the tyre, get a bit of a reading here. So we're sitting at about 190 kPa, so we want to add a little bit of air into here to get up to 220. So I'm going to fully press this lever. And that gets us to 220. So this is just as easy to use as the digital gauge. I do prefer on the digital how we do have the option to cycle through 4 different measurements, but the ones that we are likely to use here, it's either PSI or KPA, so we don't really need the other 2 bars of measurement.
Okay, so we've had a bit of a chance to play around with both of these air inflating tools, and from our very limited knowledge, we didn't exactly notice too much difference between the 2 products. I mean, both of them did exactly what they say they do, put air into tyres and deflate them as necessary.
So I think with these here, the main difference that we found was the AIRFORCE has an analog gauge and the Accura has a digital gauge. There's obviously a lot more in the specification difference, but when you're using these to blow up tyres on a car, inflate or deflate, that's really what you're going to notice. So with the digital gauge, you can cycle through 4 different options, which was quite nice. Though in saying that, you are only going to really use PSI or KPA. Using the digital gauge, it's nice to have the LED screen, because if you are working in a low light environment, you get a really nice reading. The other advantage to that is it gives you a really specific number. So if you're paying for a really high quality air tool, you want to make sure that you're making the most of the accuracy of it. And when you're using the AIRFORCE, you've really got to get your eye in the correct line to make sure that you've inflated your tyres to the right PSI or the right KPA setting. So we will be trying out these tools in a bit more detail over some upcoming videos and really using them, I guess, as part of our normal tool arsenal. But the one that we'll have connected to the air compressor will be the digital. That's our favourite of the 2.
So there you have it. You're going to see us using these products in upcoming videos, and we'd just like to take this opportunity to thank PCL Air Technology for sending us these products. We really appreciate it, and we enjoyed testing them out.
So if you've got any questions, feel free to drop a comment below, and if we don't have the answer or we can't make a video about it, we'll reach out to PCL and make sure that we get an answer back to you nice and quick. So make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned for all of the content that we've got to come. There's heaps more in the works.
Thanks from Omni Garage.